Welcome back, campers. The fire's still burning, but tonight the desert winds feel colder. You've returned just in time for Chapter 2 of the Campfire Files. Last time we spoke of legends that whisper through the woods, but now our story shifts west to a place where the sun scorches the land by day and the darkness breathes by night. In the stillness of the Southwest, something stirs, something silent, something hungry. Locals whisper its name, and livestock vanish without a trace. But once you hear the hiss, it's already too late. So grab your flashlight, stoke the flames, and don't wander too far from the fire. This is the story of the Chupacabra. The desert has a way of holding secrets. Sometimes those secrets are buried deep under layers of dust and time. Other times they breathe just beneath the surface, and if you're unlucky, you might be the one to uncover them. I moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico in late summer, chasing quiet after too many years in crowded cities. The town was small, slow-moving, wrapped in a haze of sun-baked roads and the scent of mesquite, perfect for peace, or so I thought. My new home sat on the edge of a stretch of desert that seemed to go on forever. Locals called it El Silencio, the silence, not because it was quiet, but because things went missing there. Cattle, dogs, and sometimes people. The first week passed without incident. I settled in, fixed the squeaky screen door, got used to the chorus of crickets at night. But on the 8th night, I woke to a sound I'd never heard before. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an animal I recognized. It was low, drawn out, almost deliberate. By the time I got out of bed and stepped to the window, the sound had stopped. The desert outside was still, too still, and I couldn't shake the feeling something had been watching me. The next morning, I asked about it at the diner in town. The waitress gave me a look like she'd heard this all before. She leaned closer and said, "Don't go out there at night. Whatever you hear, ignore it." Then she walked away like she'd already said too much. 2 nights later, I found the first sign. It was just after midnight, and the air felt heavier than usual, like the heat hadn't lifted from the ground all day. I stepped outside for some air and nearly tripped over something by the fence. It was my neighbor's goat, or what was left of it. The body was completely drained. No blood, no tracks, nothing, just 2 small punctures on the neck. And I knew, even without understanding how, that whatever had done this wasn't gone. The next day I went into town again, told the sheriff what I'd found. He nodded slowly, not looking surprised, said, "Best to keep your animals inside, and yourself too." That night, the hissing came back, closer this time. It slid through the cracks in my windows, coiling into my thoughts like smoke. I grabbed my flashlight, heart pounding, and stepped outside. The beam cut through the dark, but the desert seemed to swallow it whole. Then, at the edge of my property, I saw it, just for a second, low to the ground, skin like leather stretched too tight over bone, eyes reflecting the light in a way no animals should, and then it was gone. I barely slept that night. Every creak of the house made me flinch. Every shadow in the moonlight looked like it was breathing. I was starting to dread sundown. The desert's quiet wasn't peaceful anymore. It was the kind of quiet that feels like someone holding their breath. I stayed inside after dark, every light on in the house. Still, I could feel it out there, pacing, watching, waiting. Around midnight, there was a knock on my door, 3 slow, heavy raps. I froze. No one visited this late. When I opened the door, it was an old man I'd seen in town a few times. Skin like worn leather, eyes sharp as flint. He didn't waste time on pleasantries. He just said, "You've seen it, haven't you?" I didn't answer, but I guess my face did. He nodded and stepped closer. "The Chupacabra," he whispered. "It's been here before. Always comes when the heat hangs on too long, when the nights don't cool." He told me his grandfather had lost half a herd to it in the 40s. Said it wasn't an animal, not in the way most folks think. It was smart. It hunted for blood, but also for fun. Before I could ask more, he turned and walked into the darkness. No flashlight, no hesitation. Like the desert was more his home than the town ever was. His last words lingered in my head. "Lock your doors. Don't follow the hissing." The warning didn't stop it. If anything, things got worse. A week after the old man's visit, I woke to the sound of my dog barking, sharp, frantic, terrified. By the time I reached the back door, the barking had turned to yelps, and then nothing. I stepped outside, flashlight shaking in my hand. The beam caught a trail, not of footprints, but of drag marks leading toward the desert. My stomach twisted. Every instinct told me to stay inside, but something stronger, maybe stupidity, maybe stubbornness, pushed me forward. The night air was thick and dry, every step crunching on sand and brittle weeds. The hiss came again, this time ahead of me, long, drawn out, almost like it was pulling me toward it. I followed the drag marks until they stopped abruptly in the middle of a clearing. No dog, no blood, nothing but silence. Then, movement. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught it again, low, fast, wrong. It darted behind a mesquite bush, and when I shined my light, its eyes caught the beam like shards of green glass. It didn't run, it just stared, and that stare said something I felt in my bones. "You're mine now." I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a cactus, and ran all the way back to the house. Didn't stop to breathe until I'd slammed the door shut and locked every bolt. After that night, I knew it was only a matter of time. This thing didn't give up. It had marked me. The next few days were a blur of exhaustion. I barely slept. When I did, my dreams were full of hissing in the dark and eyes watching from the brush. On the 7th night after my dog vanished, the air was so still it felt suffocating. The temperature hadn't dropped a single degree since sunset. Even the crickets were silent. At 2:17 a.m., the hissing started again, closer than ever, right outside my bedroom window. My pulse roared in my ears as I grabbed the rifle from under my bed. Stepping into the living room, I saw a shadow pass across the window, slow, deliberate. I raised the rifle, finger trembling on the trigger. The front door creaked, not from the wind, but from pressure, like something was testing it. Then, 2 sharp knocks. I didn't open it. I didn't move. The hissing stopped, and in its place I heard something worse, breathing. When dawn came, the desert looked the same as always, but I knew it hadn't left. Somewhere out there, in the endless heat and dust, It was waiting, and every night since I've slept with one eye open, because once the Chupacabra finds you, it never lets you go. The fire's burning low now, but some stories don't end when the flames die out. Out there, in the shadows, something still watches. If tonight's tale has you looking over your shoulder, you're not alone. Join me next time when the flames return to life and a new voice joins us by the fire, one that sounds familiar but isn't. In Chapter 3, we meet something that mimics the living but isn't quite alive. Until then, keep your eyes open, and whatever you do, don't answer if you hear your name, unless you're sure who's calling. If you enjoyed the story, like the fire by tapping that thumbs up, leave your thoughts in the ashes below, and subscribe with the bell on, so you never miss the next tale that wanders into the Campfire Files.